everybody, this is Cheri at djsundry.blogspot.com, and this is actually my second attempt at this video because I looked above me and realized that my video camera wasn't on and I was already partway done with the card. Now this is a new technique that I have never tried before. It's one that I saw someone else do on YouTube. It's probably not new to many of you. It's a pretty common technique, but for me this is a brand new, it's a first try, and I have to say it was turning out really great, and I wish I would have had a better tutorial for you, but unfortunately I'm partway done with the card. So I will walk you through what I've done, but let's start with the supplies that I'm using. I'm making a card for Girl AJM, and right now, today is June 19th. When you see the video, it'll be June 20th. And I am, right now, we have a challenge going on at Girl AJM challenge blog, and I'll put the link below. And the challenge is a birthday challenge, and this card's going to be on there. So obviously I'm going to be using some Girl AJM ribbon. I'll pull that out in just a minute. I haven't pulled that out yet. I'm going to be using two different sets of stamps. This first set is from Hero Arts, and it's the all occasion messages. Please pardon the glare. But all I'm using is this tiny happy birthday. This is going to be a masculine card, and so I'm not doing a whole lot of big bold stuff, and I'm trying to let the extra touches be my bolder thing. From Hero Arts Stamp and Cut, and today is the first time I've used this. I picked this up from one of my design team sisters over at Girl AJM, who was cleaning out her stash and was selling a bunch of her stuff, and this is actually a Stamp and Cut. Now I've got the cut part already on the card, so I'll show that to you in a minute, but I'm going to be using probably all three of these balloons, and then the die as well. From Spellbinders, I'm using labels number 5, and I'm using, I think it's about the 4th one in. I did not emboss, I just cut it, and I'll show you that in a minute. That part I did not do on camera before, and it's still in the die, and I'll show you why in a minute. I'm using my Cuttlebug, which I'm already done cuttlebugging everything, so that's set aside. Sorry about that. And then I have several different papers I'm using. From the My Mind's Eye Fine and Dandy, I'm using this collection, and this is actually Fine and Dandy Boy, and I'm using this diagonal stripe, and I'll show that to you in a minute. It looks, well, it looks like this. This is some of the scraps that I have left over. From the Paper Company, I'm using this Cypress Fashion Colors in brown. From Paper Tray Ink, I'm using Vintage Cream, and then I also had a piece of craft from Paper Tray Ink sitting on my desk from another project that I've just kind of had sitting there so I wouldn't forget I had it. I'm actually getting low on my Paper Tray Ink craft. I'm using 4 different ink pads. I'm using from Ranger Archival, I'm using Coffee, and then I'm using from Distress, I'm using Pill Paint, Dusty Concord, and Wild Honey. Kind of a little more muted tones. So what I'm making today is a window card. This is my first attempt at a window card, so I'm just going to walk you through what I did. I started with my first layer, and I centered, just eyeball centered, and I can tell now looking at it, it wasn't very well centered, but I centered my balloon and I cut it right there. Then I took my next layer. This layer was 3 3/4 inches wide by 5 inches tall. Then I took my next layer, which is brown. This is 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 inches tall. I stack them together, and then using this piece of washi tape at the top, I taped them together, and then I took my balloon and taped it into place so that I would have 2 layers, but I didn't think that it would cut both layers at a time, so that's why I did each of these individually. I've never tried this technique, so who knows, maybe it would do both at a time, but I didn't want to take the chance of ruining my paper. So there we have those 2 layers, and actually I think I will go ahead and adhere those 2 layers together right now. This Fine and Dandy ink is double-sided paper, which is really cool, but I'm just wanting the stripe. I'm making a masculine card here. Now I'm putting a little bit of extra, or a lot of extra as you can see, adhesive around the balloon, because when I adhere it, I don't want that to pop up. So we're going to adhere those together, lining up all those edges. And I got that a little bit crooked, So hopefully it's not stuck down yet. If you've used ATG adhesive, you realize that once it's stuck, it is usually stuck. But since I hadn't pressed, I think we're going to be okay. I hope. Especially as much adhesive as I used. We're just keeping it real here. You see that sometimes we mess up. So let's try to get that a little straighter than we did before. It's a little bit better. I'm probably going to go back and trim this off. This paper size was a little bit off width-wise, and it looks like, and the reason it was is because I realized after I cut my brown layer that my blade was dull, and so I had to trim the brown, and so that makes my size off just a hair. And when I say a hair, it's like probably less than a 1/16 of an inch, but that'll give it a little bit more. Just by trimming that, I'll make that a little bit easier. So there's my next layer. Now you can kind of see what I've done here with my card. This is my card base, and I've already scored it. And this is where I took the brown layer and I did the exact same thing. I used the washi tape and put it over the top, and then I washied this piece down so that it would all line up. And so now I can just pop that out. When you're doing this with washi tape, washi tape's good because it's low tack, but if you are concerned about harming your paper, which sometimes even washi will harm the paper, I've noticed. So when you're concerned about that, as I was, I take the washi and I go against my hand, and that's just a tip I picked up from, I've seen several people do that. Now we're going to fold our card base in half. And there we have our card base. So this is actually going to line up just like this. But before we go any further now, I want to go to my stamping. So I mentioned before that I used the Spellbind or Labels 5 from Spellbinders, and you see that this piece is not a full piece, and that's because I didn't want the full piece anyway, so I thought it didn't matter if I used a scrap. So I just lined it up there, and you can see it's not even straight because of the way I was wanting to do that. But that's fine, because now what I plan to do is I plan to go through and I'm going to line up the points on my cutter. And again, I'm lining up the points because remember my edge is not straight. And I think I better grab a piece of washi because if I move my finger, I'm going to lose it. There we go. Hold that down, and I'm just going to trim that off. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to make a little place to hold my birthday sentiment, but I didn't want it to be a full die. So that's going to go just like that. I've already got my happy birthday on my stamp, and the way I chose the size for this was I put my happy birthday until I found the right stamp, because I mean the right size shape, because the size down was just a tad bit too small. So now I'm going to just line this up kind of in the middle, and in fact I may go back and trim even more. I'm going to line this up further down. Make sure that's straight and pull that up, and it says happy birthday, and it is not even close to being straight. Good thing it's nice thick paper tray ink cardstock. Let's try that again. I'm not sure my stamp's on there straight. I'm going to just slide this off camera just for a second so I can just line it up a little better than I did last time. There we go. That's better. Now let me grab something to wipe off my stamp, because I know me and I will end up wearing black or brown ink. Okay. Now I think I am going to get my paper cutter again and take a little bit more off. This time I've got a straighter start here. I still need that piece of washi to keep it in place. Line everything up. This is the boring part of card making, I know. Actually, I'm going to go a little bit more than that. Let's line that up right about there, because I do want some white, or cream, I should say. You'll see why in just a minute. Okay. There we have it. So there's our happy birthday sentiment. We'll set that aside. So now let's go to the inside of our card and the stamping that we're going to do on the inside of the card. I'll pull that off and set that aside. And now we're going to stamp these. Now, I know that this stripe is rather busy, so I wanted to choose the middle one that seems to me to kind of go with stripes. And so I thought the first one that I'm going to do is going to be this balloon with the polka dots. Now, I'll be honest with you, this one is going to be the most challenging one for me to place. And I think this is the one I'm going to want to use the Pilled Paint on, I think. So what I just want to test this and see, okay, we're going to be okay. I'm going to line this up. Again, I'm going to use my washi tape. Tell you what, washi tape is coming in handy today, is it not? And I'm going to ink up my stamp really, really well with the Pilled Paint. And I know I'm probably off camera again, but I'm just inking the stamp, that's all. And now I'm going to line it up. I'm not going to press down. That's why I like the stamp press with the little feet. And that looks about right. And I'm just going to press right through that hole. And there we have our first balloon. Then I can open up the card and, using the rule of threes, stamp my other two balloons. Isn't that fun? I just like the concept, the idea of this window card. And so I chose the Wild Honey and the Dust of Concord. And I think what I'm going to do is, I did not make a mask earlier. However, I do still have, so let's use the brown because I can't imagine ever using a brown for anything. I'm going to set that right over the top, so that when I stamp my next image, it's going to appear as if it is slightly behind the other balloon. Just like so. Now, there was a flaw with that idea, and that flaw is this is bigger. So I am going to stamp, what we're going to do is restamp this image here because they're all the same size, and I think I can make this work. So what I did is I just restamped the image. I'm going to go off camera, I'm going to cut out the image, and I'll be back. Okay, so I'm back, and I've already stamped the purple image, and the reason I did that is because since I was using the chevron, I was relatively able to reline everything up, but my head was on the camera to be able to do it, so I thought I would just do that. Now, so what I did is I just stamped onto that piece of scrap, and I run around it. Now, this is not obviously masking paper, so I'm holding it down with washi as well. And now we're going to do our last image, and I cut it a little bit narrower than what I should have, but it's really easy to reposition it to the right side. If you're looking closely, you can see a tad bit of that green peeking out. That's okay. Oh, there's something on my stamp there. I'm gonna have to re-ink that image. So I'm using the Wild Honey on the chevron, and I really like the masculine feel that these balloons with this particular pattern is having. I think I want to go right a little bit higher there and right there, just like that. And then when you couple this with the with being on the craft, then it does a really good job. And that pulled my mask right up, but that's okay because I'm done stamping my image. Now, to finish off the inside, I thought about going through and maybe gluing down some twine or something, but I think instead what I'm going to do is just grab my black micron pen. This is the 0.02 pen, and I'm just going to draw some strings because I don't want the extra bulk in my card, and there's going to be plenty of bulk with all the layers. And then I think I'll just go here in here and draw a little bit of a bow. This is about the extent of my drawing. I'll just throw that out there. I'm not a drawer or an artist, but I think that's all I'm going to do on the inside, and that is going to finish off just like that. Now you're going to see those other balloons peeking through just a little bit, just because the die cut itself is a little bit wider than the balloons, but I think it's still going to be okay. So now this layer is going to go up here, and I could pop it up, but I don't think I want to. I think what I want to do now is I'm going to go into my big jar of 3 Girl AJM deliciousness, and I am looking for hot chocolate because I think that is going to be a perfect, ooh, not so much. You know, what about, totally changing my mind here. It's a little bit brighter. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay, I am going to use the Gold Crown from, this is one of the newer releases. And what I'm going to do here, and this is, remember it's for a masculine card. I'm just keeping it pretty simple here. And I am just going to take a piece of that 3 Girl AJM. I'm going to trim it off and tape it down. Making sure that it's straight on the front. You can even, it's translucent enough ribbon that you can actually even see a little bit of the stripe coming through. Okay, just like that. Now before I adhere that to the card base, I want to go ahead and do my sentiment. And this is why I added just a little bit of extra there, because I want to tape that down so it's just peeking out below. So let's get some good amount of adhesive on there. And I'm going to off-center that because I don't want it to be too centered. Just right about there. Just that there. Then we'll adhere the card base and we'll be done. So there were some issues getting this together, but it's kind of a fun technique, and it's one that you can do with a lot of your dies. And I'm seeing quite a few different cards using this similar technique on YouTube. So be sure and check out the videos that are there, and then you can try doing some of the same technique for your own family. So now I'm just lining this up once again. Need to be careful, see how catawampus that is, so I don't want to lay that down. I'll be sure I've got it straight. There we go. So now I can adhere it down. So, happy birthday. Again, it's kind of muted. Now, if I wanted to, and actually I think I do want to, just to add one more little dimension here, I am going to go through with just the one peeking through, not with the others, and I am going to use some, this is just some Hampton Art glitter glue. It's going to have a very muted effect because it's on that craft, but it will add, it will help make that green balloon pop a little bit more from that craft cardstock. Okay, so even though I sped that up, I know you could see that that was not without its challenges. I had a few glumpy times with my glitter glue. And I just have this pick that's part of a cool toolkit from Making Memories or something that I've had for years. It's just a pick. And I just use that to help clean up some of the mess. So be careful with your glitter glue, because glitter glue and stickles are notorious for globbing down, and I know that sometimes people will use a fine tooth or a fine brush paintbrush to help control that a little bit more. So there we have it. Happy birthday. And then when you open it up, you've got your balloons coming through. So thanks so much for stopping by, and remember to take some time to enjoy the little things. Have a great day. Bye.